The door that should never open, opened. Inside Stammheim Prison in Stuttgart, Germany, a steel door at the end of a sealed hallway slid back with a low metal scream. No guard touched it. No code was entered. The control room showed green lights, meaning the system believed everything was normal. But nothing was normal. Inside that room, there was no bed. No chair. No camera feed. Just a long table and a single light hanging low. On the wall, carved deep into the concrete, were names, old names, names tied to terror trials from decades ago. A guard whispered, that room was closed after the trials. Another guard said, it was sealed. Then the light above the table began to swing on its own. That was when the prison knew something from its past had never really left. And the question no one could answer was simple and terrifying. Who opened the door? Stammheim Prison was once known around the world. In the 1970s, it held leaders of the Red Army faction, a group blamed for deadly attacks that shook Germany. The prison became famous for secret trials, heavy guards, and deep fear. Cameras watched every move. Walls listened. Silence ruled. Years passed. Trials ended. The world moved on. But Stammheim never forgot its role. The prison stayed quiet. Strong. Hidden. People believed those days were over. They were wrong. In recent years, Stammheim returned to the shadows. Not because of loud trials, but because of silence. Prisoners were moved in quietly from Berlin and other big cities. No press releases. No public notice. Just vans at night and names added to lists. Guards noticed the pattern. The new prisoners were placed deep inside the prison. Some were kept alone almost all day. Some were not allowed to speak to other inmates at all. Officials said it was for control. But control of what? One of the first new prisoners was Michael Turner, moved from Berlin. He had no recent trouble. No violent acts inside prison. Yet he arrived in full restraints and was sent straight to isolation. Michael asked one question when his cell door closed. Is this where the trials were? The guard did not answer. Isolation at Stammheim is heavy. Cells are clean but cold. Lights stay on longer than needed. Sound echoes in strange ways. Prisoners say time feels broken. A minute can feel like an hour. A night can feel endless. Michael tried to keep track of days by counting meals. After a while, the meals came at strange times. Sometimes early. Sometimes late. Sometimes not at all. When Michael asked about it, he lost his phone calls. Other prisoners noticed changes too. David Miller, moved from Frankfurt, said guards no longer told him why rules changed. One day he could have a book. The next day it was gone. No reason. James Walker, from Hamburg, said the hallway outside his cell felt busy at night. He heard doors opening and closing, but no footsteps. Guards began whispering among themselves. They spoke about old areas reopening. Rooms once used during the terror trials. Rooms that were sealed long ago. Officer Robert Hayes had worked at Stammheim for over a decade. He remembered the stories older guards told him. About the special courtroom inside the prison. About secret tunnels. About rooms where only certain people were allowed. One night, during rounds, Robert noticed a hallway light was on where it should not be. He checked the map. The hallway was listed as inactive. He walked closer. The air felt warmer. At the end of the hall was a door with no number. No camera. No handle. Just a smooth metal surface. Robert reported it. The next day, the map was updated. The hallway was now marked restricted. No explanation. At the same time, prisoner transfers increased. Men from Berlin. Men from Munich. Men from other major cities. All went to the same section. All were isolated. Lawyers began asking questions. Families complained that visits were cancelled without warning. The prison said security rules had changed. That was all. Inside, tension grew. Prisoners began telling similar stories. They said guards avoided certain areas. They said lights flickered at the same times every night. They said names were whispered through vents. One name came up again and again. Stammheim. As if the prison itself was speaking. Then came the incident that no one could hide. During a routine system check, control room staff noticed a camera feed had come back online by itself. The camera was old. It had been turned off years ago. The screen showed a room no one recognized. A long table. Concrete walls. A single light. On the wall were carved names. Old names from the terror trials. The feed lasted 30 seconds. Then it cut out. Technicians said it was impossible. That camera was not connected anymore. That night, Alarms went off in the isolation wing. Not fire alarms. Door alarms. One cell door unlocked. Then another. Then another. Guards rushed in. Inside one cell, they found Michael Turner standing still, staring at the wall. He had carved something into it with his fingernail. A date. The date of one of the old terror trials. Michael looked at the guards and said, "They still watch from the room." When asked what room, he did not answer. Michael was moved. Deeper inside. To a cell closer to the old wing. That was when Officer Robert Hayes saw the sealed door open. Slowly. Quietly. On its own. The system showed normal. The door slid back. And the past stepped into the present. As guards moved toward the hallway, the lights went out across the wing. Emergency power failed to start. In the darkness, something heavy moved inside the reopened room. And then, from deep inside Stammheim Prison, a loud bang hit the walls, once, twice, 3 times, like someone knocking from the inside, trying to get out. The banging did not stop. Inside Stammheim Prison, the sound moved through the walls like thunder trapped underground. Guards stood frozen in the dark, counting the seconds between each hit. Bang. Pause. Bang. Pause. It sounded careful. Like someone thinking. Then the emergency lights came on. Red light filled the hallway. Long shadows stretched across the floor. The sealed door at the end of the hall was now fully open. Inside the room, the old room, the light above the table was swinging harder. Officer Robert Hayes stepped forward with 2 other guards. His heart was beating fast. He had worked here long enough to know some doors were better left closed. The room smelled old. Not dirty. Just old. On the table sat a single folder. No dust. As if someone had placed it there recently. Robert opened the folder. Inside were papers from decades ago. Court notes. Prison logs. Names from the terror trials. But at the bottom of the stack was something new. A modern transfer list. Names of prisoners moved in recently. Michael Turner's name was at the top. Robert felt sick. This meant someone was using the old room again. Or something. The guards backed out and sealed the door. This time, they locked it by hand. The system still showed green. Control ordered a full lockdown. Prisoners were locked inside their cells. No movement. No calls. No visits. Inside their cells, prisoners felt the change right away. The air felt heavy. Lights flickered. Some prisoners covered their ears because they heard a low sound, like humming, coming from the walls. Michael Turner was awake when guards came for him. They did not tell him where he was going. They walked him past areas he had never seen before. Older walls. Narrow halls. Places that smelled like history. Michael whispered, "You opened it again." No one answered. They placed him in a new isolation cell near the old wing. That night, Michael did not sleep. Neither did the guards. Cameras failed one by one near the sealed room. Screens went black, then showed old footage. Not live. Old. Images from the terror trials. Prisoners being led down halls. Courtroom doors opening. Guards who were long dead. The control room panicked and shut the system down. The footage kept playing. In another wing, prisoner David Miller began screaming. Guards rushed in and found him pointing at the ceiling. "They are counting us," he said. Just like before. When asked what he meant, David said, "The ones who disappear don't stay gone." David was moved the next morning. His cell was listed as empty by noon. But his meal tray was still warm. Officer Robert Hayes tried to report everything he had seen. His report was rejected. Marked classified. He was told to forget the old room. That same day, lawyers complained again. Families called again. The prison said nothing. Inside, isolation grew worse. Some prisoners spent days without seeing a guard's face. Some said the lights in their cells turned on and off by themselves. One man said he woke up standing at his door, even though it was locked. Then came the night shift incident. At exactly 2:03 a.m., every clock in the prison stopped. Every one. Guards noticed right away. Seconds later, the sealed door alarm went off. The same door. The one to the old room. Robert Hayes ran. When he reached the hallway, the door was open again. Inside the room, the table was gone. So was the folder. In its place, written across the wall, were new names. Not from the past. From the present. Michael Turner's name was there. So was David Miller's. So were others who had been moved, isolated, or vanished. As Robert stared, a voice spoke from behind him. "You were not supposed to see that." The lights went out again. And from inside the room, something began moving toward the door.